Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and an addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Welcome to the continuation of the Saturday Rico 12 meetings. We're about a month in to this new Saturday schedule, maybe a month and a week, and it's been exciting. We've had a few new faces join us live, people that weren't able to do it on Fridays previously like we've done it the last 6 years, but we're excited to get going. Keep spreading the news about this new time slot for Rico 12's live meeting. And by the way, just as a bit of information, today's speaker meeting number 447, and yesterday was the 6-year birthday of the birth of Rico 12 speaker meeting. We've been doing this every single week for 6 years now, and what an amazing thing that is. Thank you all for your support, for your attendance, for your listening, for your sharing. It's been really cool, and I look forward to continuing it another 6 years and beyond. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions and afflictions organization dedicated to exploring the common threads of the differing manifestations of alcoholism, sharing tools and offering hope from those walking a similar path. So whether your thing is alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, food, whatever, you are home here. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn from and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences demonstrating the universal principles of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. So let's get in here, and I'm going to introduce our speaker here in just a minute, Ash. She's a first-time Rico 12 speaker, and it's always great to have new voices, experience, strength, and hope joining us here. And I look forward to hearing her topic, which is 10th step experience. All right. We are self-supporting, and thank you all for supporting us for 6 years. And being that it is the 6th-year anniversary of the beginning of Rico 12, all of those things came due here in the last couple of weeks. And it costs about $1,000 a year to run this podcast. But thank you so much this last week for very generous donations from Nicole, Elizabeth, Chris, Avig, Alessia. Awesome. Thank you for your generous contributions. Any support, both financially and by word of mouth, truly makes a difference in helping us share these messages of hope and recovery. All right, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker, Ash. Here's a little bit about her. Ash originally found recovery in 2015 with local meetings. After leaving support groups when her son was born, she returned in 2023 to find more support than ever through Zoom meetings. There, she met people who were happy, joyous, and free. She knew she desperately wanted what they had, so she began to do what they did. And she will always be grateful for those who have gone before her. Take it away, Ash. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Ash. I'm glad to be here. I am an addict, and just really glad to be here. Glad to be talking about step 10. And man, did I need it for the past couple minutes, because I could not get my video to work on my computer. Had to switch to using my phone, all while Justin was just doing the introduction. So I am glad to be here. I love step 10. It is the thing that helps me to be happy, joyous, and free, like all throughout the day, every day, even when things don't go as I would hope. And as that just happened in my experience. So to talk about step 10, I first need to share a little bit about steps 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, just very, very briefly, because I see step 10 as making steps 4 through 9 a way of life, which we can't really do without step 3. Step 3 is kind of like a foundational step for all of that. And so I'm just going to share a little bit of my own experience on those steps, and then I'll talk mostly about step 10. So with step 3, making that decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. The big book gives very clear instructions on how that is done. So the first thing that it tells me to do, and there is information leading up to this, but the first thing it tells me that I need to do as part of step 3 is to quit playing God. And it says that I have to quit playing God because it doesn't work. And before it says that, it kind of explains what it looks like to be playing God. It describes an actor who's trying to run the whole show, basically having an idea of how things should be going in order for me to be okay. So an example of that is showing up, turning on my computer to join this meeting, which I use my computer for meetings all the time. thinking that the audio and video should be working because they were working yesterday. And then I turn it on and they're not working. So I have the option to get really disturbed because things are not working the way that I would have them go. Or I can just say, okay, God, I quit playing God. I don't know if they should be working or not. What would you have me do right now? And so right now it was like, okay, all I can do is connect on my phone. And so with that mentality, that was like already a preview into step 10 for me because I took step 3 quite a while ago. But it also is kind of step 3. When I quit playing God, when I let go of the idea that I know how everything should be going, then I begin to experience more peace. And then step 4 helps me to identify all the manifestations of self that block me from experiencing God's power. And I do believe personally that God is always there. He is always everywhere. He or she, whoever your God is always everywhere within me. I'm never really completely cut off from God. I just get blocked from my experience of God. And what blocks me from the experience of God is selfishness, self-centeredness. That seems to be the root of my problems and troubles, the big book tells me. And that's the same for all people, from my understanding. All people get blocked from the experience of God when we're living from a place of selfishness or playing God. So step 4 helps me to identify all of the ways that this selfishness has been showing up in my life, or at least the most common ways that the selfishness has shown up in my life. And it goes through resentments, it goes through fears, and it goes through selfish sex conduct. And with that, I'm able to put all that on paper in step 4, share it with someone else and with God. And then, that's in step 5. And then in step 6 and 7, I'm willing to hand over all those character defects and everything that has shown up. I'm willing to give that over to God. In steps 6 and 7. And then I go out and make amends. I am willing to make amends, and I go out and make amends as part of 8 and 9. And so when we get to step 10, it's basically continuing that. We don't really learn anything new in step 10, but it does simplify that process. It doesn't mean that I have to continually write out step 4 over and over and over again. It doesn't mean that I have to keep doing 5th steps over and over again. It just helps me to make that a way of life. And in the big book on page 84, it begins by saying, this thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So as I'm working on my 9th step amends, when I went through the steps, as I was working on those 9th step amends, I could begin working step 10 right away. And it's just continuing to make those steps a way of life. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's just as much work as those steps were. Like in those steps, in the resentments inventory, for example, we learned how to deal with our resentments. We learned how to realize that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. We learned some prayers that are on the top of page 67 about asking God how we can be helping us to be tolerant and loving and kind. And for some reason, the words are not coming to me right now, but that's okay. Like, this is a spiritually sick person just like me. So God, like, how can I be helpful to them? Your will, not mine, be done. And you can see that the reason that I don't have this memorized is because as step 10, when I use this tool, it's not about saying the exact words that were on the page of the top of 67. It is about that attitude. Like, God, can you please just help me to see them as spiritually sick, just like me? No different, no worse, no better. Their behavior is not personal. It's not about me. They're just hurting. They're making decisions based in fear, just like I used to do, and like I sometimes do when I still screw up. And it's like, okay, God, so how can I be helpful to them? And, have I harmed them in any way? Do I owe amends? And if I do, then I make those amends. But basically, it's making that fourth step a way of life without necessarily having to rewrite an entire fourth step every day because, you know, it's just not necessary. Like it becomes more about the attitude of the fourth step rather than the writing. And in the big book on page 84, it goes on to continue saying, we have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. And I love that part. I love that it says it should continue for our lifetime because the way that it continues is by selfishness still cropping up. It says continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. So the only way for step 10 for this growth to continue for a lifetime is for selfishness to continue cropping up. And this should happen. The big book says over and over, we are not saints. We are growing along spiritual lines. This selfishness should continue cropping up. It's totally okay. There's nothing wrong for fears to keep coming up because it's another opportunity for me to put that third step into practice, basically, to quit playing God, to practice the fear tool on page 68, which talks about how we're on a different basis now. The basis of trusting and relying upon God and how we trust infinite God rather than our finite selves because we are in the world to play the role that He assigns. And just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us do and humbly rely on Him, does He enable us to match calamity with serenity. That paragraph has been transformative for my life because just exactly as much as I'm relying on God as my director and seeking to do what I believe He would have me do, relying on Him to provide the directions instead of me telling God what to do, telling God what should be happening, like praying, God, please do this. This is my will, like my will, not yours be done, basically. Like instead of that, it's God, your will, not mine be done, over and over and over again. And just to the extent that I'm doing that, just to the extent that I'm saying God's will, not mine be done, God, what do you want me to do? How can I contribute to life? How can I add joy? How can I bring something here? That is the extent that I get serenity and I get to know peace. And that is where I start to experience like the promises of the big book, really taking seriously that third step decision, letting go of my way, letting go of my will, giving it over to God, doing what He would have me do instead. And I do that over and over and over again with step 10. And then, it also talks about making amends quickly if we've harmed anyone, and resolutely turning our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. And I used to think that meant step 10 was a lot of work. I'd have to constantly be out there doing service. Like if every single time I'm selfish or afraid, I have to go out there and do service, like this is a lot of work. How am I going to do that? How am I going to keep up with that? But the truth is step 10 is what enables me to breathe. It enables me to just drop my shoulders and say, okay, God, like I give up. Me trying to get my way was really hard. So I let go. I give up. Your will, not mine, be done. What would you have me do right now? How can I add some joy and some love to life somewhere right now? Like it's probably to the person right in front of me. And it's a lot about being present is what I'm finding, like being present with my son, being present with my husband, being present right now in this meeting with all of you. And that's where the peace comes in. I'm seeking to contribute right where I'm at, right in the moment that I'm in, turning my thoughts to those that I can help, whoever's right in front of me usually. And step 10 is not more work. if I'm getting stressed out about doing step 10, then I'm doing step 10 selfishly and I need to do a step 10 on it. Um, it really is peaceful. It adds peace. It adds joy. I get to add love. It helps me to align myself with God's will. Then there's these beautiful 10-step promises about how we've ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. Like, I don't have to fight it anymore. I don't have to struggle against it. The focus is not on that anymore. The focus is not on avoiding it. I don't run from it. I'm not hiding from it. I'm not in avoidance all the time. Working these steps restores me to sanity around my addiction. And so it's not a struggle anymore. And it does mention that it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. So rest on like yesterday's action, yesterday's work, to just rest on that and think, oh, I did a really good program yesterday. I probably don't need to do anything today. It says we are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. And so when I go through my day with this as my guide, God, your will, not mine, be done, over and over and over again, it brings me more peace. And when those disturbances come up, I have the solution right here on how to deal with them. And I think the last thing I want to address, and I'm sorry I forgot how much time I have, but the last thing that I want to address is sometimes sponsees come to me and like say, well, what about like real sadness, real suffering, real grieving, things like that. And I just want to say I've had some experience with grieving in the past year, a few different times, a few different ways. And I think the 10th step still applies, but not maybe in the way that you'd think at first. It doesn't mean that I don't have to feel my feelings. It doesn't mean that I have to pretend like things are not happening and pretend like I'm okay and just get out there and do service and numb out to my own pain and feelings. I don't think it means that at all. I think it means allowing myself to feel the sadness, allowing myself to grieve, knowing that I'm still safely protected by God. I'm still in God's care. I'm still saying God's will, not mine, be done. And I'm grieving, and I'm feeling sad. Usually with grieving, though, there's also fear or resentment tied in with that. And those are the things that sting. They hurt. They make you feel miserable, and they make me kind of behave more miserably. Like I'm angry. I want to protect myself. That's anger, resentment, fear. Those things I work the steps on. Those things I work my 4-step tools on, because it's not my job to protect me anymore. It's not my job to put up all these walls and try to save myself from the world. Like, that's not my job anymore. That's God's job. And I have turned my will and my life over to the care of a very loving higher power. And I believe that my higher power will protect me. And I don't know what that looks like. It might look like my higher power directing me towards a boundary, directing me towards a loving boundary, but it's not going to be based in fear. It's not going to be based in self. It's going to be because God's showing me that that's what's most loving to me and the other person, and everything's okay. So I can grieve, I can feel sadness, and I also know that I'm resting in God and everything is okay. So I'm going to end on that note, and thank you so much for letting me share.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ash. Really appreciate that share. I love step 10. It's one of my favorites, and it's a life force for me. A reminder to our live audience, if you have a question for Ash, please type it in the chat. If you want to remain anonymous, if you don't want me to read your first name, say anonymous, please, or send me a direct message through the chat, and we will get to your questions as we go along. Ash, I've written down a few questions, and we'll get to other questions as we move through this. But first question I want to ask is based on that page 68 reading. The final line on that paragraph is he enables us something like he enables us to meet calamity with serenity. Are you willing to share a couple of instances in your life where that has where you've experienced that serenity even in calamity? Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. I tend to use the same examples a lot, and so I'm trying to think if I should use something different, but I don't know. It's just I'm going to give two, and it's just because these have been the most powerful for me. So I'm sorry if you've heard me speak anywhere else, anyone, but it's probably going to be the same too. The first one was I was going to a retreat, and I was very, very worried about how everyone would receive me there. I had reasons to believe that I might not feel welcome, that people might not want me there. And so I was really worried about that. And that's when I was introduced to this page, actually, in 2024. It was my first big breakthrough with the big book. And it was pointed out to me that the reason that I was afraid was because basically I was thinking about myself and thinking about what I needed and how those people were going to treat me. And it was just this selfishness, self-centeredness, me trying to run the show, me thinking I knew how things needed to go for me to be okay. And it was pointed out that, like, just to the extent that I let go of my way, the way that I want things to go, and focus on the role that God has for me there and how I can contribute at that retreat, God would give me serenity. And that was true. I started focusing on how I could contribute, what I could bring to that retreat, and how I could be helpful. And with that as my focus, I had a really great time, and I had to repeat the fear tool several times on the trip. It wasn't like a one and done and then I'm never afraid again. The fear kept coming back up and I kept using the tool. So that was like my first big experience with it. I'll also mention that I have used this in like medical emergencies with my son, and it really, really works. Like, there's still the adrenaline, there's still some anxiety feelings in the body, but it helped to bring clarity to, like, what is my role in the moment? I don't have to think about what's going to happen next and what's going to happen next and is my son going to be okay and like all this other stuff. Like, he's having trouble breathing right now. What is my role right now? God, show me how to be helpful right now. And like staying present, staying in the moment. I was somehow able to have this peaceful quality about me that was helpful to my son while doing the next actions that we needed to do, instead of my normal frantic, like, oh God, please help him, like, just, it was calm, it was peaceful. And, if he needed to go to the hospital, we would have rushed him to the hospital. But it was like, we were just focused on what is the role right now? What do we do for him right now?
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those. And I love the you said, sometimes often for me almost every time. It's not a one and done thing. It's something that I get to repeat and can continue doing throughout the day, throughout the hour, whatever that looks like. How do you communicate that maybe to a sponsee who's like, I have done this 6 times in the last hour and I'm still experiencing fear? How do you continue to help them to realize, hey, it's not a one and done thing?
That's a great question. And I think I'm a really annoying sponsor because my sponsees are used to me saying things like, oh, good, you've got another opportunity to practice, like another opportunity to grow in reliance on God and grow in understanding and effectiveness. Like it's no problem for the fear to keep coming up because it gives us another opportunity to rely on God. And basically, things are only a problem if I think they're a problem. You know, if I think it's bad that I'm in fear over and over again, then I'm just going deeper into shame and self and beating myself up. But really, if I'm not playing God, I don't know how many times a day I should be experiencing fear. I don't know how many times I should need to apply the principles. Like, I don't know. I'm not God. Maybe I need to practice the fear tool 75 times today. I'm not sure. And it's okay.
It's okay. I love that. Yeah. You know, when I talk to a newcomer, especially, and I get, so I kind of, let me share a little bit about how I sponsor, I guess, with the 10th step and then get your feedback on it and something about that. So I get my sponsees into the 10th step immediately. It says, as we go along, and I interpret that even deeper than step 9. I say, hey, when we get to step 9, I don't want you to have any new today things. I want you to be making amends and working this as you go along. But one of the ways that I do that is I say, hey, this is a way of life. And if you have to do this 100 times today and 100 times every day for the next 3 weeks, and then it drops down to 60 times a day and it drops down to 40 times a day because all of a sudden you are connected with that higher power and connected with watching and turning, things make a big difference. What are your thoughts as I share how I currently do that with my sponsees?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Justin. I think what I'd like to share is the similarities in what we do, because even though I don't introduce step 10 right up front, usually I get my sponsees hopefully to the third step within our first call. It doesn't always work out because I'm like, you know, God's will not mine be done, and I'm trying to pay attention to where they're at with things. And like if they're not good on step 2, we might read through we agnostics or something. So it might take longer, but most of my sponsees get to step 3 on the first call. And then I just start by reminding them of step 3 when they're struggling, like reminding them that, hey, you've turned your will and your life over to God's care. Like that's not for you to worry about now. You don't know how that situation should be going. Like, what would God have you do in response to it? And it's so similar because that's so similar to step 10, right? Like, we let go of our selfishness and our way and seek to do God's way and seek to contribute. So it's very similar, except that at step 10, we also have those tools that came in the 4th step. So if someone's in step 10 and they're really stuck in a resentment, we can look back at that resentment tool or the fear tool. And then, I don't know, that's the main difference that I see. Otherwise, step 3 and step 10 are just really similar.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. And getting through the first 3 steps in your first call that's awesome. I love how you're sharing that you do that typically, not every time, but typically. Talk to me about the emotions that happen in a first call when you're working with a sponsee and getting through all those in, however long that first call is.
Um, Yeah, I mean, the first call often is emotional because we're going over step 1, where, I'm talking to them about basically their rock bottom, the efforts that they've made to stop. Like, has any of that worked? What has happened? How has that made your life unmanageable? Like, how is this affecting you and the people around you? And like, yeah, really those efforts that you've made to control, stop, moderate, and there's a lot of hopelessness there, right? So step 1 is really about that hopelessness, that we have this mental obsession or mental inconsistencies, as I like to call it. and the physical allergy or physical response, where like when we start taking in what we're addicted to, we can't control how much we take in, how far we're going to go. Like we don't know what's going to happen next. And then the mental inconsistencies that even though I know I can't handle it, I'm going to pick up anyways. Um, it's a really hopeless problem. And then the way that that impacts our lives, like, so we're going through all of that in step one, and that's really emotional. But then with the hope that comes with like steps two and step three, like choosing to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. Like, are we seeing people in the rooms, people around us who have been restored to sanity? And do we believe that there is a power greater than ourselves that's doing that and could do that for us too? Um, it's like moving from complete hopelessness to hope and turning our lives over to to this power that's greater than ourselves. It's amazing. It's a roller coaster of a call, but it's wonderful.
Thank you for sharing, walking through that. Yeah, I agree. It's wonderful. Sometimes it's like heart-wrenchingly emotional, but man, it's good to get in through those emotions. All right. You mentioned in your share that step 10 now seems to be oftentimes just being present, being where you are, getting where your feet are, especially the turn our thoughts to someone we can help portion of that. Talk to me a little bit about how you do get present in the moment when resentment, fear, selfishness, dishonesty is cropping up and trying to distract you from that.
Yeah. Getting present in the moment really, it comes from practicing the tools and allowing God to remove the selfishness. And one other example of this that's it was something that happened with my husband. He had come into the room once and he was yelling at me for leaving the kettle on the stove unattended while I was upstairs on the phone. And he was really upset about it. And I got disturbed, I got in fear because he's yelling at me. And right in the moment, I was able to just ask God to remove my fear, like while he's yelling at me. God, remove my fear, make this not about me. Like, how can I be helpful to him? And then because of the fourth step inventory that I'd already done, I realized that he wasn't yelling at me. It wasn't personal. It was not about me. It was about him, and he was in fear. And so then the most helpful thing that I could do to be present in that moment was like ask, hey, are you okay? And then make amends for like making the house unsafe by leaving the kettle on the stove. Like the fear left me, and it's like I actually got to be present in that moment with him and like, are you okay? I'm sorry. I made the house feel unsafe, like actually thinking about him instead of my own fears and selfishness.
No, that's a great experience and a great way to look at that. Sometimes as I'm wherever I am, whether I'm at work, at the store, in my home, out on the street, whatever it may be, and I see selfishness, fear, dishonesty, resentment crop up. I go through that process, and then my thought is turning my thoughts to someone else. Oftentimes, okay, where am I supposed to be right now? What am I supposed to be doing right now? If I'm at work, the way I turn my thoughts to someone I can help is I get to work. I get back to what I'm supposed to be doing to serve my employer, serve my customer, bring money home for my family, whatever it is that I should be focusing on and doing it for that purpose rather than being distracted by the resentment that I have because a coworker did or said this. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I've also been reading the Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now. I hope it's okay for me to mention a book here, but okay, thanks. I've been reading that, and it talks about how like we are not our thoughts. So like just recognizing that I'm having these thoughts, but I am not the thoughts. Like, even the anxieties or fears or whatever, like that's not actually me. Those are thoughts that are coming into my mind. And when I'm not so connected to that as my identity, like there's something deeper within me. And then it like, I don't know, it's like I can more easily let go of those thoughts when it's not like me. And then I feel more present. I immediately feel more present when I like kind of disconnect from all the thoughts rushing in. And then it's like, okay, I'm just right here.
That's good. All right. So, this is a lifetime. This is a, let's see, how's the word go? This should continue for our lifetime. It's not an overnight matter. When I first start practicing step 10, it can seem really hard and arduous. And, it's not as simple as what it looks like in the book. But what is your experience as you've continued to do that? Does it take, I don't know, 10 minutes every time you go through a 10-step process, or what does that look like to you as you do that on a regular basis?
Right. No, it's more like this like momentary attitude shift, this letting go of my expectations, letting go of my fears. It might just be like this sigh of letting go and then just aligning with God. What would you have me do right now in this moment? It literally takes like seconds, like 4 seconds or something, um, and my prayer might not even be words, like the sigh letting go, and then just the awareness that God is here and I'm a channel of his love into the world. And like, God, what do you want me to do? How can I improve this situation? um, I will say, like, yes, it felt like a lot of work at first, and now it just feels actually like getting back into alignment with power, with peace, with love, and it's very freeing.
Yeah. So Ash, it sounds like this portion of it might be a little bit less formal, this portion of the 10th step. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we've harmed anybody. How does that look for you? When do those parts come in?
Yeah, thank you. So first I'm gonna, and this is all one sentence, we discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. Kind of like some people look at it as if we've harmed anyone, then we need to call and discuss it with someone and then make amends. I don't really know. All I know is if I called someone every single time fear came up, I'd be calling someone all day long. And that story where I shared about my husband getting mad at me, instead of me asking God to remove my fear and then being helpful to my husband right there, I would have been on the phone like God, I'm disturbed. I'm in fear. And I think what I focus on grows too. So if I'm constantly focusing on the fear, then the fear is going to feel a lot bigger. But what I do is I do call people to discuss things when I'm stuck. When I'm stuck in fear, when I'm stuck in resentment, stuck in selfishness, I do call someone who has recovery that I look up to. And it is important to me who I call in those situations. I'm not just going to call anyone. I'm not just calling just to dump my emotions on someone and let it go. Like I am calling to get their experience. And um, so when I've called people who actually have strong recovery, they've been able to share another point of view, something else, something that I'm missing, help me see the selfishness in a different way. And then I'm able to let it go and give it over to God and get back on track. So those phone calls I do think are helpful. It's just I'm not doing it all the time. And I do think earlier on in recovery, we get stuck more often. So having calls more often makes sense. Um, Sometimes I feel concerned for my sponsees who don't call me like ever because it's like, well, I hope they're calling someone, but I also let go of that. Like I'm not trying to control their recovery. So I know I've needed to make calls. But it's just not like it's not a bunch of calls every single day. And then the making amends quickly if I've harmed anyone, yeah, that seems to come up so naturally now too. Again, like that story where I left the kettle on the stove right in the moment when I recognized my husband's feelings and what he was struggling with, I got to make those amends immediately, like without even, it's not like I sat down and wrote out some formal amends plan or something. I just, right there, it's like, oh yeah, the house was not safe. So
Yeah, that's great. And you know, the the process you go through is when you do make those calls, it's not just to dump on somebody. I think that's so valuable to say, hey, I am experiencing fear right now, and here's what's going on. But I want your feedback. What's your experience with this? What insights are you gaining as I talk to you? What is your higher power telling you to share with me? You know, something like that, that makes it so I'm just not going, okay, I'm experiencing fear. Here's what I'm going through. I'm gonna walk through these check mark steps, and all right, I'm out of here. See ya. That's not super helpful, in my opinion, just dumping like that. So, any other thoughts on that before we move to the next thing?
yeah, thanks, Justin. The last thing that came to mind when you said that is I do try to share the problem very briefly, like, in a minute or two, instead of going on and on and on for like 20 minutes about what the problem is and why everyone else is wrong and, like why I have a right to hold on to the problem. Like I don't need to do all of that. I just try to clearly and briefly, like, say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is the fear. This is what's going on. And then if the person I'm calling has questions about it and wants me to share more, then I can do that. But um, again, just it goes back to the what we focus on really grows. So if I can say the problem in a minute or two, and then we talk for 5 or 10 minutes on the solution, that's awesome. If I'm going to talk for 20 minutes on the problem and then they've only got 1 minute left to talk on the solution, that's probably not very helpful.
Yeah, very good. All right. So, Ash, any other thoughts on step 10 that have come to mind as we've had this discussion? Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss Rico 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to Rico 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
Thanks for asking. I guess the only other thought that just came up is, yeah, if it feels like I'm doing it wrong, if it feels like it's adding stress to my life, then I'm probably doing it wrong. Like step 10 relieves the stress. It takes away the pressure. It's not a homework assignment to check off so that I stay sober. This helps me stay in connection with my higher power. It helps me stay in connection with this new way of life. And so it adds peace, it adds joy, it adds freedom. It doesn't take away like my freedom and my time, my liberty. Like I don't have to look at it as a chore.
Yeah, so just define that just a little bit. The difference between the check mark that seems like a chore or maybe causing stress versus the freedom. How is that different? Are the steps taken different, or what does that look like in your experience?
Just when I did it as a checklist, it was more like, okay, I'm working step 10 right now. I'm gonna sit down, I'm watching all day for these character defects to come up. Oh, there's one. And then like I see the character defect and then I have to say the prayer. Like, let me do my I might even do the written down or the rapid step 10 online, which I used to actually promote that and use it. I don't anymore. I have no problem with anyone who does use it. But like I was doing it as an assignment. Like if I do this, then I'll stay sober. I'm going to say all the right words of the prayers. I'm going to turn my thoughts to someone I can help. Who can I help? Where's the sponsee? Like just staying busy, like very frantic. And instead, I don't think of it that way at all anymore. It's like, God, I'm having another problem, fear's coming up again. I'm playing the director again. That's been hard. Like, I can't handle it. I can't play the director. It's too much. I'm letting go. I'm giving it to you, giving you my fear. All right, God, how can I add some love, add some light, add some joy? Like moving into fun, really. God's will is fun. Um, so hopefully people are having fun once they get into doing God's will.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Ash. I really appreciate your share, your conversation here on step 10. Do you have any final words of wisdom before we start closing this meeting down?
I don't think so. I don't know. I guess just 10 and 11. I didn't talk about 11 at all, but I also see 10 and 11 as being very related because in step 10, first, we're asking God to remove the selfishness so that we can get into doing his will and, and turning our thoughts to someone we can help. And also in step 11, like all throughout it, and especially like in that morning routine where it starts talking about things, it tells us to ask God to basically divorce us from our selfishness, our selfish thoughts. And that way we're able to better do God's will and maintain that conscious contact. So it's always getting the selfishness out of the way, getting the fears and the resentments out of the way so that it can be just God, just love, just light, just joy, peace. It's really good.
I love it. And I love the joy, peace, and light that you brought for us today. Thank you so much, Ash, for doing that. If you in the live audience or out there in the listening audience have any other questions that you'd like to ask Ash, please send an email to me at rico12pod@gmail.com. If someone reaches out to me, Ash, and asks to get connected with you, are you okay if I do that through the back channels with an email or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Very good. So if you want to get in contact with Ash or with me, send an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll make that happen. If you haven't yet already done this, please consider rating and reviewing Rico12 in the podcast platform of your choice. It does help us get the word out there and share this recovery with others. Share the light that people like Ash share in their shares. Come back next Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. UK time as we continue this Saturday Rico 12. I'm excited to hear from our speaker next week, and I am continuing to search for new speakers as we go along here for July, August into September throughout the summer months. So summer months in the Northern Hemisphere, you Southern Hemispheres have to go through winter over the next few months. I'm sorry, but grateful to have you here. But if you are wanting to share on a topic of your choosing, please reach out to me. Once again, same email address. As we launch out of here, Ash, do you have a favorite recovery prayer that you'd like to launch us off with?
Yeah, sure. I'll end us with the third step prayer. And thank you so much for having me here today. It's been such a pleasure. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ash. Remember, everybody, there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back, and when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
Standing still a moment, carving out this time, reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survive the storms and walk through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight. Still searching for glimmers of light. Feet still on the ground. I can still be found standing still.
My wings are torn and tattered, but I know I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered, I may not rise too high.
Recorded in the book of life and bind it with the seal